Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video. I, 36 female, have a younger sister, 33 female, who seems to have hated me ever since she came out our mom's womb. For some odd reason, we have never gotten along, and it's always been because of her. I've always wanted to have a loving relationship with her, especially as the older sister who always wanted to be a good role model for her. My younger sister has always had insecurities about herself, and I think that may have played a major role in how she views me today. While I had been fairly thin, she had battled with her weight, and even when she dieted, she had a hard time losing the pounds that she wished to shed off. She didn't like her facial features and felt her nose was too bulbous looking, and felt I thought I was better than her because my features were perfect, according to her. In my opinion, she's always been beautiful, and I think her views of what beautiful should look like is what has her convinced that she is not. When she became a teenager and began to develop, she started working out more and even joined the track team to get in shape and ended up having a curvy but toned figure. Even with that, it wasn't enough for her because she continued trying to act more as my rival than a sister. She would always crush on guys my age and would get upset if a guy dated me and not her, not understand that the age difference between us was always a factor. When I was 18, she was 15, and that meant she was underage, so no. These guys she fantasized about were never going to date her. When I moved out of the house at 21 and got my own apartment, I felt freedom for the first time. I had grown tired of the screaming matches I was having with my sister and knew that it was also taking a toll on our parents. Having my own place meant I didn't have to be at the house as much and could get away with only coming over for family dinners on Saturday or if my parents needed me for something urgent. In my absence, I guess my sister thought she'd get more of my parents' attention, but she started getting the wrong kind. For example, me leaving home meant that the house wasn't kept as clean as it had been while I was there. We were the kind of family where the kids did chores and helped to keep the house clean since both of my parents worked. I took on all the chores just because I loved to clean, and I think my parents had thought that we were both doing our share of chores. Me moving out showed them that I had been the reason why the house was kept clean, and they would get on her for allowing the bathroom trash to fill up, for not taking the kitchen trash out, or not cleaning the dishes. Instead, allowing dishes to pile up in the kitchen sink. She felt they were nagging her because she wasn't me, and she'd throw fits about how I was the favorite child. She finally got older and moved on, but it didn't help the feud she had with me because, for some reason, I was still a problem to her. When I started dating my husband, 37 male, 6 years ago, she had gotten upset because she believed I found the most charming guy in the state. Not to mention that our relationship was so good and healthy, causing her to say that I had a perfect relationship. When my husband and I got married 2 years ago, she couldn't even be happy for me on my wedding day, and she sulked the entire day. It got worse whenever she'd get some new boyfriend and the relationship wouldn't last, causing her to whine about how every guy wouldn't be as perfect as my husband. It was annoying, very childish, and had started to get on my nerves. So I was so happy when she finally got married a year ago to a great guy who I feel she takes for granted. He works as a freelance construction worker, and he is always getting a lot of work. He makes great money to the point my sister doesn't have to work, and that free time gives her time to worry about my marriage instead of her own. The reason for this post comes from what happened a few days ago on Saturday at my mom's birthday party. It was a really nice soiree, and my sister was actually behaving for once. I had been suspicious of why she was acting too nice to me until I noticed that her friend kept standing close to my husband and talking to him whenever I wasn't next to him. When I saw her finding ways to touch my husband's arm, it's when I waited until her friend went upstairs to use the bathroom before I followed her up there. I then confronted her in private and asked her why it seemed as if she were all over my husband. At first, she tried to place the crazy card and make it seem as if I was making a mountain out of a molehill. When I pressed her on it and she saw how angry I was becoming, she became frightened and confessed that my sister paid her $1,500 to flirt with my husband all night in order to see if he would flirt back, exposing cracks in our picture-perfect relationship. I was so mad that my sister had really stooped this low that I told her friend to not mention to my sister that she knew and returned downstairs to tell my husband. At first, he wanted to confront my sister, but I told him I didn't want to ruin my mom's birthday party, and so we just play along. I told him while he entertained the friend, I would flirt with her husband in order to show her how it feels. Sometimes I think you should show someone how it feels for something to happen to them, and in this case, my sister had pushed her friend onto my husband to flirt with. So why not teach her a lesson with her husband? So I approached her husband, who was helping himself to a plate of meatballs, while my sister ignored him to watch my husband, like she usually tends to do. And I just struck up a regular conversation with him. I had a good friendship with her husband, and I always felt so bad for him because my sister didn't treat him right. I didn't go too overboard with things, just touched his arm a few times like my sister had instructed her friend to do for my husband, and basically asked him how it works. My sister sees her husband enjoying a conversation with me and has the nerve to get jealous because it's me, and storms over to demand to know what we're talking about. I told her I had asked him how it was working, and she told me, well, if you paid attention to your own husband, that you'd see he's been all over my friend the entire night. But instead, you're busy worrying about mine. I said, oh, you mean the friend you paid $1,500 to flirt with my husband and tried to ruin my marriage? You mean that friend, or is there some other friend you paid as well? My sister was so shocked and felt so embarrassed that I knew about her scheme, and her husband was so upset from hearing that. He confronts her, saying how he thought the reason why her friend tagged along with them to the party was because she had just gotten broken up with, and bringing her to the party might cheer her up. He then asks her if the $1,500 that she paid the friend was the same $1,500 she asked him for this morning for car repairs. He said that he couldn't believe that not only did she lie about her friend being depressed in order to have an excuse to bring her to the party, and that she lied about needing money from him to give to the friend, but that she had actually paid her friend to try to get my husband to cheat on me. He said that he didn't think he can stay married to someone that's cruel like that, and he left the party. My sister breaks down crying and says that I ruined her life and that I broke her marriage apart. AITA for this because all I did was teach my sister a lesson. But not only that, I only revealed what she had plotted against my husband and me. My sister is such a piece of work, and now she's trying to drag our parents into it. It's been a week since my mom's party and 5 days since my initial post. We did well with keeping things under wraps at the party so that the party wasn't ruined, but after the party was over, we stayed over to help my parents clean the mess up from the party. And that's when My dad noticed my brother-in-law's absence and asked my sister, where did he go? My sister doesn't know what to say at first and tries to say that he had to go check on a client's house. When she sees my husband and I enjoying a piece of cake together and laughing about when he ate an oatmeal raisin cookie at the party, when he thought it was chocolate chip, she tells our parents that I ruined her marriage. When they asked her what I was talking about, she lied and told my parents that I had been throwing myself at her husband all night and was trying to get him to leave the party with her to sleep with him. I became so angry that I tried to fight my sister and ended up crying because I couldn't believe she'd say such a thing. My husband became so angry that he confronted my sister in front of our parents and demanded that she tell my parents how she paid her friend to flirt with him at the party and how her husband left the party because he couldn't believe she'd do such a thing. When she denies it, my brother-in-law happens to walk into the house at the time, saying that he felt bad for leaving my sister when he became upset and was there to take her home. When my mom asked my brother-in-law what was going on and about my sister's claims that I was trying to sleep with him, he got mad and said he couldn't believe that she would drag him into her mess like this. He then tells my parents that not only did she lie about needing money for something, but she also used it to give it to the friend who she claimed needed to come to the party to get over her breakup. He says that the fact my sister would create bigger lies on top of the ones she had already created and didn't hold herself accountable with this situation was the very reason why he had decided to go stay with his parents for a while to take a break from the marriage. Of course, my sister blamed me for this as well, and not the fact she lied to our parents about trying to sleep with her husband. Update 2. An entire month since last update, and you guys, my sister still hasn't learned her lesson or even said sorry about everything she's caused. So my brother-in-law made due on his promise and he's been at his parents' place. My sister has been running over there every single day to see him and beg him to come home, but I think he may actually be done with her. His parents don't like her very much right now, and of course, she says it's all my fault, that his family hates her now. I've since decided to block her from contacting me and told my parents that I will not be coming over to their house for a while if she is there, because I don't want to see her. They respect my decision, and instead, they just come over to see my husband and I whenever they want to see us. Blocking my sister was the best thing I could have ever done because now I don't have to worry about the angry messages she sends me about how I ruined her marriage and life, as if she hadn't done all of that herself. You can't be TA because you weren't the one who caused this situation to begin with. Your sister put herself in the position of being outed when she confronted you in front of her husband and made it seem as if your husband was flirting with the friend, not the other way around. Her husband deserved to hear what she had going on. Good on you for blocking your sister and temporarily ending this cycle of craziness. If your brother-in-law is truly done with your sister, then she has to understand that it was all of her fault. I, male 22, and my sister Riley, 24, lost our parents a year ago in a car accident. She has 5-year-old twin girls, Lexi and Addie. Their dad died during active service 3 years ago. She told me that she couldn't cope and was thinking about giving up so they could have a normal childhood. She has severe depression and is getting help. I begged her not to give them up and let me take care of them for her. After a lot of back and forth, she agreed, and they have been living with me for 6 months. However, my girlfriend, 22, has recently told me that IATA for taking them in and not putting her first. I kind of lost it with her a bit and said that they are just kids and need looking after. I have just accepted a lease on a bigger apartment, so they have their own rooms, and she's angry because she doesn't like the area it is in and doesn't want to come round anymore. I told her that it's fine that my nieces come before her. She hasn't talked to me for the last few days. My sister has gone to live out of state with my aunts, so she is not seeing her daughters. I feel so alone now, but the girls need me. As everyone's asking, I had been with my girlfriend for a year. She knew there was a possibility when we first got together that I would be taking in the girls. This has probably been on the cards for the last 15 months. She said that it was a great idea, but as it became reality, changed her mind. Now, it's all about her and whether she can live where I do now and if she wants children. She came round last night to talk, and after a lengthy discussion, I said that I couldn't put her first and that we should break up. She agreed, and we left it as we would be friends. That was until she came back drunk, out of her mind, screaming at me that I'm AH. My neighbors called the police and they came and took her away. Also, my teammates are my biggest support. They have been amazing and taken it in turns to help out, so I'm never without help if I need it. They think she was just with me for my job anyway. I do not think my ex girlfriend is an AH in any way. She couldn't cope, and that's fine. It's not what she wanted in her life, and that's her choice. What I can't get my head around is why I'm the AH now when I was honest with her right from the beginning. NTA, if your girlfriend doesn't live with you, then your invitation for your nieces has literally nothing to do with her. You're a good dude for helping your sister and nieces, and if your girlfriend hates that decision, it might be a good idea for you to take some time to analyze your relationship with her. You're doing a kind thing helping take care of kids in your family. That should not be inherently objectionable if your girlfriend isn't having to sacrifice anything for it. NAH. Honestly, it's likely you just cost yourself your relationship. She doesn't want a relationship where there are two children and their needs involved. And you do want to take care of your nieces. You're making a great choice for your niece's sake, and your girlfriend may need to make some of her own choices for her sake, namely, splitting up. Please make sure you talk to a lawyer about this whole situation, though. It's not when one of the girls has a medical emergency that you want to find out. You have no authority to dictate their care. I, 18 male, had my 18th birthday a couple of days ago. We planned a small gathering at our house, just the immediate family, up to first cousins, so maybe 25 total, and a barbecue. As part of my celebration, I plan to formally come out as gay to the rest of my family. I already had told my parents, grandparents, and my uncle, who also happens to be gay. I have no problems with the people in my family. They're all super supportive. I just never had the courage or the time to officiate it. When it came to the cake cutting, I decided that it was the time, but with perfect timing, my aunt rushed into the room and congratulated me on coming out even though I hadn't yet. I was very annoyed by this. Stuff happened when I was outed in high school. I was beat up and bullied, but things are a lot better now since I met my boyfriend, which my aunt does not know about at all. I quickly left the room and asked my dad if I could borrow the car, and he said yes. I drove over to my friend's house and asked if I could chill for the afternoon. Cue the phone calls. My mom and dad called and asked how I was feeling. They completely understood. My aunt also started texting and calling me. She didn't apologize, didn't ask me how I felt, simply lectured me on manners and discipline. calling me rude and immature. I silenced my phone and ignored her for the next few hours. I even went so far as to put it in another room to not be tempted to use it. I chilled with my mate for the rest of the day, playing strategy and board games. It was better than any barbecue. Now my aunt has been pestering me over the past few days, no remorse or apologies, just ramblings about how she found it rude that I ignored her. She never apologized in the first few hours anyway, from her aggressive voicemails. I realized that she made a mistake, but I am just so conflicted. My mate says that I should be given space while I cool off. But my parents say that I should apologize ASAP and try to reconcile. AITA? NTA. It would be one thing if it was just a dumb slip up where she arrived late and assumed she missed your moment of coming out and then promptly apologized for what she did. But that's clearly not at all what happened. And considering her attitude about the whole thing and complete and utter lack of apology or any sign of regret, I can't help but wonder if it was entirely intentional. NTA. Your aunt is very committed to making your birthday and your coming out all about her. That's a-hole behavior, even before touching the outing you part, which is well beyond being a simple a-hole, even if she knew you were planning to say it at the party. It's never okay for anyone to do that to someone else. She owes you multiple apologies, and even if she gave them, you don't owe her forgiveness or talking to her on her time scale. Take all the time you need for you to be ready.